All right, break time over. Let's get after it. So yeah, so now you kind of got the idea. So now we can sort of just put the afterburners on a little bit here and see if we can just knock this out. But again, so you're just checking the nuggets right off the bat. That's what I'm looking for. The nuggets tell me who wins, who doesn't. So these are all long because that checks because this guy got smushed in because he's the loser. These guys are the winners. But yeah, just kind of take a look at the nuggets, see how it goes. But from there, we just got to start grabbing parts and going for it, you know. So 1, 2, grab this guy here, grab these nodes, go that, that. There you go. That part's ready. Same thing here. Grab that one, align to shape. There we go. Back 16. There we go. We also want to transfer over everything. So that's why we build this side view. So technically we could grab this, duplicate it, and we could strip away kind of the stuff we don't want, but everything's kind of set up for us on this one. So we can grab everything we need here, group it if we want, just to make sure. And then you line this up to this rectangle here, bonk, right? And yep, so now I have my holes all set up there, and then theoretically these holes are all set up. So we can just double check again because we're on track, patent pending, trademark, etc., etc. Yep, so that matches that, that matches that, that matches that. Yeah, so that should all work because it's all lined up. Good, good. So let's go ahead and ungroup everything, and then we got to shift clicos. Make sure we don't grab the actual reference line. We'll grab these two guys. I want to double shift though. Make sure you don't grab the other. These guys. I do have a macro that actually shifts all the clicos at once, but I just want to make sure I do this right. Now we can go through and grab anything with an extrusion. So if we hit send it and we hit pick anything with 090 extrusion, we can get that out of the way because we don't need that right now. There we go. So that got rid of that. So 09, we don't need these guys too because that guys get a little confusing. But yeah, so now it's bend scribe time. Left, right. There we go. And then is there anything, double check. Yep, looks good. Save. Always forget to save. Save, save, save. Get very sad when it's broken. Oh, you know what? No, we don't need these holes here. That's right. These guys are going over here. So we can actually probably group those and just line them up. Because these guys line up, right? Yeah, see? Ooh, good thing I caught that. I heard you yelling. You were like, no! Cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So take that. Zoom in here a little bit. Oops. See, I grabbed the reference line. There we go. Is there anything we got to do here? No, we can leave that. That's fine. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's it. Yeah. Right? Yeah, I think we're good. All right, let's make one of these guys. So these guys are winners. Again, checking the nuggets. This guy's the loser. This guy's the winner because we want the seam to be on the top and the bottom, not visible here. So that makes sense. So we're just going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to move those. These guys get, actually technically it's an inch. It's nice when it's an inch because your nudge is an inch. Right? Nudge is an inch, right? There we go. There we go. Now we can kind of do that. Bam. How you like me now? So these guys here, same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and scooch these now just because I'm in the mood to. Now we're going to make this shrink because this has to fit inside that C channel. So I clearance it 1/8 for 09 just to give us that little bit of room. But that's the same thing we did to this guy. So anytime it has to fit into the channel, that's what you got to do. And then we just double check because that's what these jiggies are for. See, that thing right there lets me know how far over to go. And that corresponds to that thing. So that's why you do that. And then, so we already shifted. Now all I need is, oh, no, hold on, because we're going to do these cats, right? Yep. But now these guys are already to size. This guy fits inside. So he's literally the size of that nugget right there, bonk. So there's no having to shift the center rectangle or anything. It's already ready to go. So we'll just grab this cat and we'll go bonk and then flip, nudge, 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 clip, bonk. There you go. Now ungroup everything. Can we get away with it? Duplicate, weld. Yay, cool, that worked. Send this to the top so that way we make sure we get the bend scribes and we hit all sides, boom. Now because this is already trimmed 1/8, you can see that's convenient. Everything crosses over, everything goes way far. This might stop here, but no, because of the bit, see the bit overlaps. So you have to continue that channel. It's taking that metal out right there and it needs to, otherwise it'll bind on the brake. So you need to let that go all the way to the end. Otherwise that bit, because this is about the width of the bit. It's a little tiny bit bigger, but that gives you the idea. See how it crosses over onto the gray? You got to trim that out. So make sure that these go long, even if they're kind of in space. So anyway, now we're going to shift these guys, remember? Got to shift everything to 16th. Now, this we need to deal with because here we have just some junk that's in the way, but this is our through shape right here. So what I like to do is throw a blue on that just because I like that color. And then this needs to be called, so right now this is called offset 0.06, but this needs to be called a through shape because it's getting through. So over here, now this makes a through shape. We don't want that. This one here though, this little group names everything. So if you want to name something a nugget, if you want to make a custom nugget, then you use that. If you want to make a custom jiggy out of something and make it magenta, use this button. But if you want to make a through shape, you use this as through, and it says you want to make sure because it can rename, because you can select a lot of things and then accidentally all your undos are used up. Because if you accidentally selected all of this and hit through shape, every one of these things would be called through shape. And you almost just basically have to delete it and start over because your undos now are like, 100. Well, how many parts are right here? 35. So 35 of your undos because it went through and named everything. So there's no way you're going to undo 35 things. I mean, you can, but who's got that kind of time? So anyway, but now this is a through shape. See, I renamed it and we're good to go. All of the rest of this will get stripped out when you'll see, but all that gets stripped out and then we'll have a nice blue square there. Now, double check everything because we don't want to duplicate mistakes. So everything looks good. So we don't really need this per se. And so we can just duplicate to know that there's 2 of those. And then can you use this? No, this is the corner boy here there. So you can't really use that. You could, you could cheat and use the through shape for that, but it doesn't look like it. So anyway, so what do we got? This nugget loses. So we got that. So now since it's one of these again, we're going to get rid of those nodes. We're going to shift these back. Click, double check, visual. Again, that lets you it's just an easy way to visually represent. Because if you were to not have all this stuff and you're trying to build this just by hand, I mean, like, how would you know? I mean, that's a 16th off now. How would you know? Like, how can you know what was scooched, what wasn't? How do you know? So that's why all of these things are just there to make sure everything looks good. It's a scaffolding, if you will, a framework, and then it all goes in the trash. And then you're left with the goodness. The goodness. Anyway, so there's that. We can just go ahead and shrink that because we know we need to. So let's shrink it now. And then we're going to shift all day. Shift all day. And then let's bring ears in. So who was using ears at 4 1/4? These guys. Yeah, these guys are 4 1/4. Right? Same thing, right? Yeah. Bonk. Bonk. Just because I'm feeling frisky, I'm going to do it this way instead of the duplicate, because they're kind of both tedious, but because this is only, these are an inch and I got my nudge set, we're good to go. Just that fast. Okay, and then I'm going to bring the center rectangle to the top just to make sure we've already got those shifted, so we're winning. So all that's left is that, but now we got that issue again. That's going to be shy, so I'm going to add 3/8, and I'm going to add 3/8. Hey, I pushed the button. Go. Okay. All right, save. And then I already made this one, so I don't need to rename it. So I can just carry this down. There we go. And then we can actually send that to the bottom. And if we hit duplicate checker, anything towards the top gets pulled out. There we go. All righty, that's that. Oh, so now we're starting. We have a whole nother reference, but guys, to attach that to that. So let's grab what we did there as reference, and then this is the big boy here. So we can just line this up with that node right there, right? That's jiggy. See how it works? Boom, and then pull that away, and then I can just grab these cats, duplicate, group, and then just line them up with who and what they're supposed to be. And having them local saves you from having to go all the way up, because we're tracking, you could theoretically grab this and then hit align, but that's a lot of back and forth. That's why it's helpful to just bring these down with you. We'll be scraping all that out anyway, making sure all that's gone at the final step when everything's cleaned up for actual routing. So we go. Good to go there. And then closing in on the last pieces here. Again, nugget, we have that guy telling us this guy's the loser, so we'll get rid of that. Get rid of that. And we'll bring scooch these guys back. And we'll grab these and scooch and click. There you go. Winner, winner, save. And then while we're here, let's shrink the center rectangle so we're ready to receive. And we have that guy right here, handy. We can get rid of you, don't need you. And you know what? We don't need you either. There we go. Bonk. Oh, 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 oh. Didn't quite. There you go. Bonk. Bonk. Duplicate. Let's try weld. Yes. Top of layer. Let's scooch first. Oops, grab the whole line. Don't do that. There you go. Everybody's scooched. Everyone's happy. Center lines. Boom. 3/8. I could do probably if node, find the point of the end node. If node is on shape still. Yeah. I mean, there's ways to do logic, but life's short. Fleeting. So now, because this pattern literally has to match, I'm going to go ahead and grab this pattern as it is. I'm on track, right? I can go ahead and just throw on node there, dead center. I'm good. So I'm going to go ahead and group this. And then I'm just going to even align. And then I'm going to ungroup. And then I'm going to send this to the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab these guys. And then I'm going to hit a dupe checker. And then it should grab out any duplicate nonsense that's there. And that saves that guy. There you go. And then like we were talking about, I could either just try to make a top and a bottom, but they accidentally put the bottom on the top or whatever. So I'm thinking with the time it takes to route these few holes, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it. There you go. So that way they don't have to worry about it. I do have a symbol actually for that. I'm going to go over to my symbols here. And this lets them know if something is symmetrical. I'll drop that right here. Boom. And I'm just going to revert to objects. You can see my video on why symbols are really great. But although when I made this, it's not quite lined up. That kind of bugs me. But so before you make a symbol and put it in amber forever, you got to get all the settings that you want right to start with first. And then, because otherwise when you break it apart, you break apart everything that was annoying about it before. So anyway, so these parts are symmetrical and these parts are symmetrical. Just again, just to help brothers out, it makes sense to you, but they're getting a pile of aluminum and they have a PDF, but you know, if you can just let them know, like, hey, dude, don't worry about it. This part's symmetrical. You know, don't trip. Just helps out. Just helps out. You gotta help a brother out. You know, have a little empathy because they're back there doing their thing, and you're up there just chilling. You know, just chilling. Like me. You know, what am I doing? I'm just playing with razor stuff, making shapes. They're back there just slaying dragons. All right, last piece. Oh, look, cool. Yeah, last piece. We're there. Again, so we're looking winter. So you get the winter treatment. So you get extended. You get brought down. Clunk. But then you get sent back a 16th. Make sure. Verify. Trust but verify. Grab these. 1 inch back. Good to go. These guys are already 1 inch back. Grab these two. Clunk. Back a 16th, back an inch, good to go. We will put the references for everyone's little tongue and grooves here. Group. Yep, see, it makes sense. When you do an alignment like that, we can just get rid of these guys. And then there we go. And then again, I already have my send it ready. I hit go. I'll get rid of all those extrusions. There we go. Okay. So now it's time to scribe lines. And then I'm going to use, if you go to go time, there's a little button and it brings up Clico Master, right? Shift 16th. So theoretically, if everything's going okay, now sometimes it's too weird to use. It's the most basic of logic, but what it does is it finds these two lines and then it finds all of the clicos and it puts them in a bucket. So it puts these clicos in a bucket because it's on this side, and it takes these clicos and puts it in a bucket because it's on this side. And then if all of these clicos are in a line, it shifts them. So sometimes it works. So you got to verify, but let's see. There you go. So I hit the button. So theoretically, all of these guys are shifted and I'm verifying it. I have had it where like one is hanging and I don't know why. So just, that's why it was cool. I came up with the idea and I was proud of myself for making the logic. And I do, when I have a really big sign and I start getting tired of doing this and then this and then this, I do bust out Clico Master. But like something like this, where these guys are on a different, so when you have these guys on two different things, and these guys are in different alignment from each other, no. So that's what I'm saying. It's got to be the most basic, simple, let's get this done kind of thing. It will work fine for that. Or it's also got a weird thing where it takes the longer of the two, because most of the time the parts are skinny this way and long this way. So it takes into account like a rectangle like that. And then it knows that these guys are on this side and that side. But it would actually probably shift these this way because this is wrong. Like this is wrong for this. So if you're in some funkiness, you can't use Clico Master. But if you're just in these symmetrical parts where you have a lot of Clicos in a line all the way down, then you can just try it, bam, and then verify. Again, that's why these lines are there, to be able to just visually quickly check that we are a 16th shifted. So for this, even though it's kind of symmetrical, it's not, because of the way this goes up and then down. So this one, I'm going to for sure throw a arrow on. So if you just select the part and hit that, the arrow goes onto the part. And I'm going to go ahead, even though this is, some people might say it's obvious, but just in case, I'm just going to make sure. I don't want any excuses. I'm going to put that towards the top like that. There you go. So you know that's up. Again, help a brother out. Again, you can say, well, if they don't know that's up, why not? You know, just help them be that much faster. That way, when they do put it upside down, you go, look, I gave you an arrow. So what happened? All right, so now I'm just kind of going through double, triple checking. Again, I can reference these. I've seen this so much now. I can it's almost like instinct. I'm almost just looking at my peripheral vision, but I could just sense if one is out. So I'm just going real fast, looking through everything. On this here, these holes will help, but even though this is not a UL sign, this is going to be towards the bottom of the ground there. So I might just put some UL. So if you go down here, it says 2.26 UL. This is the UL hole. So let's go here, because if I do a center, it's going to go under this. It might be a pain in the booty. So I'm just going to go out here and do my alignment like that. And so this will just help it drain just in case any water does get in this part. But this will be sealed. So, but I mean, water can find its way if it drips, but I'm going to put those there just in case. You have to have that on an electrical sign. So if this was an electrical sign, we'd be making sure that these holes line up with these holes so that water can make its way out, period. But because it's non-electrical, but still condensation, whatever, it'll evaporate. It's not that big a deal. But that way water can get through, well, might as well. Let's just do it. So this way it can find its way out. Should it get in there? There you go. That'll help. So water can drip there. It goes through there. Those made up, and then that will drip to there. Water out. Alrighty. I think that's it. So I think we're ready to break out faces and jiggies. So we'll do that next, and then we'll start making files.